Hey, this is Thomas Mashad. Welcome back to Brain Doodles. In this series, in Lesson 4, we're going to be talking about memory boosting. And what we're going to start off with in this lesson is the use of color. And so let's take a look to see how color can help to boost our memory. Okay, here we started off with a series of about 10 circles here, and I'm going to end up creating some faces just to let you know that well, let me just put some eyes in for right now because we have a series of people here, and we're going to color them in. Now, when we use color, a lot of times what I'll end up using is either colored pencils for the first time, especially if somebody's kind of new to using color. So using a colored pencil would be one way of doing this. It's nice because there's benefits of the colored pencil because it doesn't bleed through the paper. And it might be a little bit more forgiving as far as like the darkness or something like that. So colored pencils would be one way to go to incorporating color. Another way would be getting a marker. And the nice thing about markers is that they have very nice strong colors versus the colored pencil. And the downside is sometimes they can bleed through, but certainly the vibrancy of the color can be really nice. But it's completely up to you. In choosing what you want to do, it's definitely going to be something that you're going to want to look into to having more than just the black and the blue and the red ballpoint pen. So we're going to take a look and see what type of colors here that we're going to be using. Now, for these group of guys right over here, or ladies, whatever it might be, these are our highlights. Okay, and now the highlights are going to be yellow, orange, and red. Okay. Now, normally you don't want to put your text in these colors. It's better to highlight your text with these colors rather than writing out your body copy or your notes with these colors. Okay. Now, for our next group of people, these are dealing with our content. So this is what you would actually write your words, do most of your illustrations with. Okay. And these guys, ladies, would include green, and blue, brown, and purple. Okay. Now, sometimes I like using lighter shades, so using a lighter shade of brown or even a lighter shade of purple. Sometimes you can get some pens in a couple of different shades, which is nice, or even like a lighter green or a lighter blue. And sometimes you can end up using those as highlights as well. But the darker colors are going to be what we're going to be using for the content. And then these group of individuals right over here are the shadows. And that would be our black colors or dark gray, the medium or light gray, and then also white. And this is something that you would end up using. Maybe like the paper color itself would be one way to go to using white. So normally you're going to just end up with like a black or a gray. Okay, so this would be primarily your paper. Okay, so each one of these kind of has meanings, and it can be very cultural on the meanings, certainly, but the yellow can be like energy. You have this idea of the sun. Okay, same thing with orange, can also have a feeling of action, as well as red can kind of feel like anger. So importance, things like that. So that's why we end up using these as highlights to really kind of getting our attention. You know, yellow, we think of being happy. Same thing with orange, a little bit happier. Sometimes we think of red as being a little bit more angry as well. Okay, but we can also think of red as being like a rose, so something very beautiful as well. Okay. On to the green, we can think of money. When we think of green, we can think of an accomplishment being done. With blue, a lot of times people think of trust, and that's why companies like IBM use blue. It feels very trustworthy. Also has energy, say like with the water flowing. Brown feels very earthy, like when we're thinking of a tree or a plant. Okay. Or like a human being, so very earthy. Purple, of course, we think of royalty. And you'll notice that purple isn't used a whole lot. Why is that? I don't know. So, in On with the Shadows, black has sometimes a connotation of death, especially within American cultures, okay? Whereas white might be more apropos for death in other cultures, and white kind of has this purity sense, and so very clean. The gray has this kind of ambivalent feel, sometimes even nauseous or something like that, but it's a very good shadow to kind of really bringing things off the page. Okay, so I would kind of say that gray is kind of more of that neutral tone that we can end up using. Okay, so let's take a look and see how we can incorporate some colors into something that might help us plan a project. Okay, let's say that we have a project coming up. We have a project deadline, and this could be for a class or for work or something like that. So a lot of times, we might think of a couple of different things. We could think of arrows pointing, and we go from the beginning to the next step and on to the next step. Or you could even think of a road, traveling down a road that you get to a destination. So it's completely up to you of what you want to do to kind of denote maybe a project deadline, steps, things like that. Okay, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and take this second example, okay, by using the road, and I'm just going to draw kind of like this curved line going off into the distance, okay, and I'm going to draw another curved line that widens as we get towards us, okay, so just two curved lines, and then a curved line dashed down the middle, okay, so we have this look of a road, and off in the distance are the hills and our sunset, which is setting on our goal. And that's what we want to do is we want to ride off into the sunset. Okay. Now already you can start to bring in some color if you want to with the yellow. With the sun, we could add in some grass for the green if we wanted to as well. Okay. So now we have a deadline that we're going to do, and you might be given a project about a couple months in advance, 3 months in advance. I know that for some of my students that we start in March on something, and then we have until maybe the end of May, beginning of June. So let's say that I've given you a deadline starting a project starting in March. Okay. So you've just gotten back from spring break, and we're going to start our final project. Okay. So here we've written out March, and we put a banner around it. Okay. And then what we can do is, listen, this is going to be writing out our set of goals, things that we have to do in March. And what you can do next to each one of those is you could place a little box that you could end up checking off once you reach that. Then on to the next area, which is kind of like, you're going down a race and you pass a mile marker or something like that. You go on to the next area, and this is going to be in April. And we'll draw a frame around that. And so this is our flag goal here. And so then we can write out the information for April. And, depending on what side that we want to do it on, we can either do the check boxes over on the left-hand side, or we can do it over onto the right-hand side. Completely up to you. Okay. Now I'm going to erase some of this up here so we can add in some more illustration, some more doodles. And then finally, all the way down here, we have our last goal. And this is in May. Okay, so we want to have our project done in May. And so I will place the flag down here. And then, of course, once again, we want to make sure that we have, really, these are our final goals. And, I want to check these things off. So each step of the way, we've given ourselves small goals to achieve that we can end up checking off. Okay, now we've added some color in, but we can add even some more. Okay, now I'm going to come back to my green, and this is March, and this is where we're going to start off at. Okay, and this is where the green is go. We could even put green in the flag if we wanted to. We could use a couple of different greens if we wanted to on this. Maybe have this be a bit darker green. Oops, there we go. To really know that we've begun. And then what happens is that once you get into April, we're closer to our deadline. And so at this point, we need to start, really making sure that we've taken notice of what we're doing. And so maybe we'll put the orange color in there. Okay. So this is kind of like that, proverbial, warning, caution. We've got something coming up, and make sure that you are on task. Okay. And then finally, when we get down to the deadline, we think maybe a little more towards red in the color. And at this point, we want to make sure that we are achieving our goals, that we're on task to completing the project, and finishing that in May. Okay, so be generous with the use of colors, and that way you can kind of just quickly look at everything and say, when is your start, when is the middle point, when is the end point, and hopefully those colors kind of give you a sense of urgency as well. That, hey, listen, we have got a deadline in May, and when we reach that point, that this is going to be very, very important that we have achieved these goals. And so hopefully we can start using the green to marking those off as well. Okay, so that's using color to helping improve your productivity, your problem solving, and also your memory.